Approval of minutes.
I make a motion to approve minutes.
Second.
Sorry, who said second? Was that Rick? All right, thank you.
I don't think we have any visitors today. Correct?
I don't have any on the agenda that I'm aware of, sir. I don't see any attending, so.
Okay. Old business.
So, Mr. Chair, we had parking up first. Steve was planning to come. Is that correct, Fran?
He was,
Okay. If
and
I
I
can-
just texted him.
All right, can we just push that one back behind the budget to see if he joins us, since it arose out of his conversation in front of his store and that question? Is that okay with you, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Okay.
And let's see. Oh, Prop U is next. Is that you, Garrick? You talked about that?
I think we're on budget next, right?
Oh, I missed that budget. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. I just want to make sure I'm going to the right spot for y'all. So we have, I'm going to share my screen here. Go ahead.
Never mind. Go ahead.
Okay. So on my screen, you have seen this document this last month when we discussed, and I know we'll open this up for discussion. We did get some quotes on things that Parks and Rec has brought in. This water saving basket just got reduced, literally just got the email from Yvonne at Parks and Rec so there are a couple items that we know are new infrastructure to the district. The baskets, the flower baskets that hang on the poles and such. There's a few baskets that have not been upgraded to the water savers like you have in place around the district right now. So that is we have quoted and put for your consideration 10. They're $72 a piece. And then also I'll get to new ornaments in a second. We do have new poles in the new streetscape hauling down by you and such that have been added. So we have added, there's 10 poles. So we have created in the budget 20 baskets with 10 brackets, one for each pole. They're a double bracket. So that cost has been included in the quote. And then in this first year, plants and soil are 55. I split this out so you could see it each for those baskets. Usually the plants and soil are built into that transfer amount that we discussed last month, you know, that your fund transfers to the general fund. But I wanted you to be able to see it in terms of the budget before we finalize the transfer. A couple other things, the log cabin parking lot, they anticipate upgrading the landscaping beds in and around the parking lot. And so we have plenty of plants, but we may need to buy some plugs. So Yvonne sent a request over for about $1,000 to, you know, upgrade that lot with new perennial plants and such along that line. And then this deep root fertilizing, the Christmas tree, the spruce in the gazebo park is starting to show signs of degradation. And so we need, and you know, just literally old. So we're going to do some deep root fertilizing. It's in at zero because it doesn't cost anything to you. It's a park, so this will be covered by the park. But I wanted to make you aware that that's going to be happening. And at some point we will need to be looking at tree replacement in Gazebo Park. That spruce tree is not, again, this is our arborists' decisions and such in the park system, but the tree is not keeping up with health. And so, you know, at some point it will start to lose more branches than it holds and all things like that. So we are building that into a longer term plan. So those quotes, that is just for some of that. The ornaments, again, literally, I just got this email in from Yvonne. She had talked about, right now you have 3 different types of ornaments that are sort of on your poles during Christmas time. Old Webster is looking at doing some ornament upgrades, namely garland and such like that. You guys don't match. You don't have to match. You're not saying that at all. But she did want to, you know, we have about 20 more poles, so about 89 total ornaments. And so she was suggesting, because the ornaments you have, the 3 different types, are getting pretty beat up and they're starting to, you know, being held together by fishing line and such, that either this year or in the next year that we're going to need to look at different ornaments. And so she would suggest a single ornament to be placed on each rather than the 3 sort of looped together. You know, so generally about somewhere between 30 to 60 bucks, depending how extravagant folks want to go. We don't have to finalize that quote right now, but need to sort of put that on the table about a sense of, should we do new ornaments? She also had the idea that, would the business districts like to really sort of take on decorating the poles in sort of a business competition? Where we just, I'll use John, for example, Frisco wants to go out and decorate the couple poles in front of the street, or Holland wants to in front of hers, have a business competition. I figured the answer I was going to get was a resounding no. We don't need more work to do in the retail season and Christmas, but I just want to put that out there. So that is a lot. And we'll keep the screen up so you can see, but as you look at that, that adds, and I'll come back up here. I put that in the operational equipment line. So again, nothing else has changed in these amounts from our last conversation. So that would increase your budget. And then this transfer amount, the 35,000 out, needs to be finalized. And we are working on that. I don't know if that's been done when you have seen the final budget and such, but again, that pays for the Parks and Rec staff that do all the watering, all the soil that goes in plants and such. So that 35,000 number will change slightly depending on those cost centers. So this would be, again, I need the general direction walking out of this meeting. Are we on the right path on budget? Are there any don't want to do that at all, namely for new things or current things that we do? And also then what is the wishes on other issues? We left 12,000 in here for continued lighting upgrades. We can certainly up that number. This 17,000 is probably going to be closer to about 10,000 left over. So that's just going to fall back to your fund balance, back to savings, and can be reused and such if you wish. And then also, please do not feel stressed. We can always amend the budget as we go throughout the year. So if you have other desires that you want to go through, we can bring the budget back to council and add an amendment. And as you are not in the general fund, there would, and should it come from your request, it shouldn't be any problem amending the budget if you need. So, Mr. Chair, I'll stop talking. I threw a lot of ideas on the table. Happy to walk through anything and answer questions as we all discuss where we want to go this coming year.
All right, I think we were pretty good on the budget from our last meeting, I guess, but any other additions or subtractions anybody have?
Eric, can you clarify one thing for me just real quick? I'm sure we've gone over it a ton of times. The big major difference between the 2021 actual and the budget was the big 17,000. Is that the streetscape money?
Oh, this is actually the Stribe open purchase order for lighting. So this 17,000 went into it was just under $17,000 that we opened a contract with Stribe for all the lighting, the facade top lighting and such. And it actually, what's that?
You said 12 of that is still left to be used if we want to use it?
No, it's about 13 right now.
Got it.
13,000. Okay. And what I put in the budget over here in the proposed column is 12 more. So that is, as you can see, that's a purchase order, a contract from 2021. So it needs to close. We can't just keep purchase orders open year on end under the government financing. So what would happen is we would close that purchase order with Stribe. All those funds would fall into the savings account. And then if you have them back in the budget, we just reopen a new purchase order. So go ahead.
On that one for just 1 sec while we're there.
Yeah.
Is Stribe being accountable? We've had this lingering conversation you and I have had, waiting to know. I mean, I'm maintaining, spending my money with electricians on this. Have they made the washers thing happen? Is that the south side of the street's been out of lights for 2 months? We've all spent our district's money on it. Are they following through on us, or is that kind of something? Where is that?
It's a great question. So the last conversation I had with Stribe, John, they had your email and such to connect directly with you, excuse me, to schedule fixing that. So I wondered the other day when I saw the lights off if they haven't been with you. So
yeah,
we've got all the washers. So they're literally in my office right across the road here. So they come pick them up when they need them. So I know they've done some work up in Old Webster. They're not as Johnny on the spot as I'd like, but that said, I've recognized, and they have said they've got labor issues and other things that are going on. And so, but we don't have to continue with Stribe. We could go to another agency as well.
great. Thank you for the update. Just kind of wondering that part and piece.
When we're done here, John, I'll put us all on an email with them. So they're all right there together. So
awesome. Thank you, Eric. Last question. I think Holland, and on Holland, but Fran and Bob, you guys had brought up something about the gazebo committee funding a little bit more gazebo money. As we have Joe, have people who have left, and Fran's stepped up and done even more work for us. And in order to compensate Fran for helping us more, is that something that we would be putting on right now? Bob, Fran?
I think John, I think I'll propose that when we're doing the gazebo series, I mean, Fran probably did quite a
we
bit
don't-
more last year.
We don't need a
than-
budget for right
than what we
now.
budgeted for, so I want to include that in this year's gazebo budget, but that can come out of our gazebo funds, I think. Unless I'm
Okay.
misspeaking, we have to put that in the budget right now.
No, so your gazebo funds are not city funds. So to Fran's contract with the city, we do have a proposed increase in the budget there that we talked about. It's a slight increase. She obviously, just to put all the business on the table, is paid by each of the business districts and then also by the city's general fund for the work she does with the commissions and in these activities. But the gazebo series is, you would take care of through the gazebo series account and such like that. If you want to move to a different amount within the city budget, we certainly can do that.
Did we go to 3,000 on the city budget on that? Is that
Actually,
what-
4,000. So it's this line right here. It was 3,500 this year, and I moved it to 4,000, anticipating an increase for Fran possibly being negotiated.
Okay, and then John, we can figure that out any further because she did a lot more work on getting the advertisers last year. So we can do that a little bit separately, right, Eric, from our fund?
Absolutely. The gazebo fund is not held by the city. So you guys are, I assume somebody's got a checkbook and all that
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah, if anybody wants it, I got it. Okay, so John, I think we can do that on our side when we get together with Fran on the whole gazebo part on the
Perfect.
series.
Yeah.
Okay,
Explaining that one to me. I do have one more thing also, and this will become it's good to know that we can do an amendment, something that we had talked about in the past, and I don't think I had enough information to bring this up for budgeting right now, was possibly switching that fall festival that Civil Alchemy was doing into an actual Old Orchard Fall Festival. I just want to plant the seed now. Anybody who's been on the group knows we've talked about it for a couple years now. The pandemic kind of has canceled that event the last 2 years, but it had pretty good traction. It was a pretty good event for 2 years in a row. And I had thrown out there and had suggested possibly making it an all-out Old Orchard event. And I wasn't really prepared to talk about it before this budget. So knowing that we can always amend the budget later, I wanted to plant the seed for others to think about. I even threw out there that it could become part of the gazebo series committee or an Old Orchard events committee, or just ideas and thoughts on how to bring more people for other events and things like that. And I'll leave it at that, and I'll come back to it later. Knowing we can amend it means maybe we'll see it again before next year's budget.
Great conversation, Chairman. Just real quick on that whole process. So we're early in the budget process right now. We as staff need to submit your budgets by March 1. But there is between March 1 and July 1, even before the budget actually starts, still time for changes, right? So, I mean, if we come back next month and the committee said, yeah, we think we need to ballpark, I don't know, $5,000 for the Fall Fest, whatever the number is, we can add that in, or if it's after July, we need to come in August and make that amendment so you have funds to use for that kind of purpose. We can do that through the council as well. So.
Awesome, Eric. Thank you for explaining that process to me.
No problem.
okay, Eric, I'm sorry, was that all under old business? I'm kind of losing myself here. on the-
Yeah, so, but before we move on, Bob, I just wanted to make sure, was there anything else that's, certainly I'll flag the Fall Festival. Are there any other major things that are popping out that people have seen in the district? So trash cans or benches or other issues that have been problematic that you'd like to have quotes and included, or things like that are enhance the life in Old Orchard and the retail experience and the dining experience.
I
I
have
think
a couple things I've just noticed from other business owners around like the Old Orchard Shopping Center that I'm in now is that a lot of the places where like there's like being like a pharmacy, like we have like one handicap spot to share, and it's constantly full of people. I know I mentioned that last time, but I'm still getting a lot of complaints from customers. The ramps, and I didn't think about it before because I didn't really think about shoveling until now we have to snow. But you know, like we have a handicap spot, and then when you get out of the cars there's not accessible ramp to get up off the curb from there. You have to go back behind it. I don't know, it's just kind of awkward. Like the way it's designed is backwards. Like I guess
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense, but like, you know, if I like older people with MS and stuff like that coming through the pharmacy, and there's no way that they're going to be able to use those spots. And there's only one for myself and a chiropractor to share for that whole street. And like,
Steve, yeah.
still like, I know I brought it up last time, but it's still full with cars that don't have permits to park there.
Right.
But we have that whole street for like, now everybody's doing curbside pickup and everybody's parking there for so long, you know, but I mean, it's really the handicap accessibility for the older people. And like, you know, like we're having problems with like that lot wasn't even plowed at all. I mean, this, you know, now it still hasn't been plowed. The alleys aren't accessible, so I can't have my employees going through the alleys because I'm worried about them getting hurt and falling on the ice. This is like yesterday, not like last week.
Right.
So,
So-
I mean, I just think some of these things need to be taken into account and addressed because, I mean, if they shovel all the sidewalks and the streets aren't clear, people still can't get out of their cars.
Is that, is that that's the building owner, isn't it? That parking lot? Or is that?
Yeah,
Webster?
I mean, I think, but I don't know who plows that street in front of the pharmacy and stuff. Like,
So-
is that the city or is that like the St. Louis County?
This is Eric, so I can answer a bunch of those questions. And Steve, just so you know, before you hopped on, we do have the parking, the exact spots you're talking about. I put on the agenda to discuss with Officer Razul and such, so we'll pop back to that. In relation to the budget, let me just start there. The parking lot is Old Webster's, not Old Webster, is Webster Hughes. They own the building. So
Yeah.
that is that concern. The street, and they take care of the maintenance on the parking lot. The street in
Sure,
front
okay.
is our street, the city street for city maintenance. We do plow it, and the ADA ramp certainly is something we can be addressed. That would not come from the business district budget. That'd be a capital improvement, and we do have ADA ramp cuts, you know, in the budget and such, and we can work with Public Works on that. And Steve, if I could take those parking conversations and the maintenance and such, and as we go back into that parking conversation, if we can discuss it there, it's not really budget, but I do have it noted, and I think we can handle it looking at it there. Does
Okay,
that
cool.
work for you?
I appreciate it.
Is there any other budget stuff? We didn't really talk about ornaments, Bob, really go into it. Do you want us to include some funds for ornaments this coming year, or are we gonna go one more year?
Well, if they're in poor disrepair, I guess we need to address it. She doesn't think we have one more year in them, or
We may get another year out of them, but it's not, they're not holding up well. So I mean, we've fishing lined them together this year. So I mean, their preference would be to quote them and replace them. You certainly have plenty of money in the fund balance to manage that if you want to do so.
yeah, I would say do it, because I mean, that it sounds like it's a hassle for those people trying to get the old ones back up and everything. So unless anybody has any other ideas, I would say go to a simpler one, like Eric said, like a single ornament instead of multi put together. Who picks those out, Eric? I mean, how do you figure
So-
that out?
Yeah, so we would put a general number in the budget and such, and then we'll provide essentially catalog options and such. And so we can pick them out as a group before we order. So.
And I don't see that as being a huge expense, so I would say let's
Yeah.
play for that.
I don't, that $1,000 I have in there was simply a placeholder. I don't expect it to be more than that in any big way. So,
And I'd say replace them if anybody has any other ideas, but I'd say go ahead and let's replace those this year.
quick reminder question, and maybe you've got it somewhere else. In the past, we've talked about adding additional lights to the Christmas tree, the one that's not healthy, to make the holiday lighting more of a Rockefeller-esque kind of thing. Would that be in this parks thing that we would need? Is that where that should be?
Sure. So the tree lights and such that go on that tree are actually just the city lights. We put them up on the park. So,
Gotcha.
but we can, I mean, we have, I think, probably if we look here in, trying to find the right number. It's not going to be an electricity. Where am I looking at here? Well, I don't know. I guess I will add that in if we want more lights. I mean, the Christmas lights are going to be relatively cheap. It's, $100 or so. I do think, Bob, as we look ahead, and Fran, thanks for the reminder. Do we want an event around that? I mean, this year we obviously, the mayor and I were there, and after the art fair, the lights turned on and we were like, okay, the lights turned on. So that's good. So,
Yeah, I think we could give it a little better effort this year on the Christmas planning. This year, everything was a little bit different, but maybe tie it into like a little more than so that event that we did last year or something along those lines. But
we could definitely find some carolers, I'm sure, and make it a fun moment.
yeah, I think we
Yeah.
we got to it too late last year. We didn't have time to touch with base with the bands and Webster and that type of thing. So I'd say we try to make that a little more focused event. In the past, when we had the high school band and that type of thing, it seemed to be a pretty good event.
Wasn't Abby really interested in this the last time we talked about it?
Who?
Abby?
Yes. Yes, it was. Can you hear me?
It's breaking up a little.
Hello?
Yeah, you're breaking up really bad, Abby.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. I don't know what's going on, but yes, I am interested.
Okay, then we'll plan
Yes,
on.
I'll hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you now. But we'll plan on.
Okay, yes, I want to do something with it. I would love.
Let's plan on focusing on a date and that type of thing for a little bit ahead of time this year, so we can contact the bands and that type of thing.
Sounds good. And on those types of expenses, as we get farther in the year, I'll just use contract area maintenance, for example. If we are not on track to spend down or have a plan for that 3,900, we can always as staff move the line items around for you. So if you've got some extra money in one item, we can pull it over to help an event out or such like that. So that way we don't have to ask for an amendment for small events, and can cobble together the hundreds of dollars that are needed for things here and there. So.
Okay, so
All right.
again, that was all under old business, Eric. I'm
We do have the parking lot discussion, and just wanted to go back to that. And it's not actually parking lot, it's parking spaces. And so I'm gonna,
Eric, this is Angel. Do we need to go ahead and make a motion for that budget now, or you just to be done?
I don't believe we need a motion. I mean, the
Okay.
obvious direction that you all have is to submit that budget, and those are the inputs you're looking at. So we will
That's
do
fine.
so.
Okay.
If there are any changes, like the transfer that happens, that if there's any major changes, I'll obviously email the group so you all have it, so you're aware. And once I enter it, I'll send you the actual copy that goes in our new world, our budget system and such, so you all can see it. You'll see, and then when the budget is out, I'll send you all that as well, so you can see what Councilmember Smith and the rest of the council will see in relation to your budget.
Okay, just checking. Thanks.
No problem.
okay.
Bob, I wanted to bring up, if I can, this is the parking conversation, and Steve, you asked about this and brought this up last time, and Officer Razul is here, and I'm gonna use our friend Google Maps. For everyone, this is East Lockwood. Starbucks is right here. Here's Steve's business. This is this white car right where my mouse is, if you can all see it, is the handicap spot. And then this whole street is 2-hour parking, and that is the handicap spot that is that, I believe it's that one there, if I'm correct. Is that correct, Steve, right in front of your business?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so this is the street, obviously sunny and not with snow on it. But wanted to bring up this conversation because it did, Steve brought up a good question about, people in and out with boosters and shots and such like that. Is there a way to do some 15-minute parking, those kinds of conversations? All that is completely doable. And I've asked Officer Razul well, he's always on these calls. So thank you, Officer Razul. But really, it's a matter of you making suggestions. If there is a parking issue or a concern that you want to address, the ramp issue, being able to bring that up, and we can bring that to council. And then generally, unless it's really an extravagant request, council does honor the request from the Business District Commission. So wanted to sort of put all the things on the table. Again, 2-hour parking here, 1 handicap spot, and this is a city maintained road. So Officer Razul, I know we did talk to the Chief Curtis, and I know he passed it on to you after last meeting about this handicap spot and folks not being legal to park in a handicap spot, but they still do. But I don't know if you have any comments about enforcement and what you're seeing on that street before we dive in.
Well, recently I haven't really been focused in that area just because I don't get as much complaints per se, either by email or people calling in. So as if Steve does see that there's an issue or somebody is parking there, they shouldn't, they're always welcome to call, because unfortunately I can't be everywhere at the same time. But as far as the 2-hour goes, I've been seeing people move pretty regularly, despite few employees that still likes to park there. But it wouldn't hurt to add maybe another, from my perspective, another handicap spot, because it's just one spot for an entire street. So that's my little suggestion. But the 2-hour, I mean, I never had issue where I've been enforcing it consistently, because people are moving their vehicle pretty fast, especially most people that I notice coming into Starbucks to grab their coffee and go. They don't use that Webster lot for much of anything other than students.
So that's just, so Steve can just make recommendations and say, hey, could we do a couple 15-minute spots, a couple additional handicap? I know we did that behind our buildings. That 2-hour worked out well for our buildings on the north side, but
yes, we would look to the commission, you know, if you have recommendations or desires there, whether it be more handicap spots, if you want a couple, or this whole street on 15 minutes. I mean, this is, you know, maybe more than just one meeting conversation, but I also want to make sure to put it on so that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make recommendations that hurts that little deli or that little breakfast place on the corner either. You know, 'cause I know a lot of people come in there, you know, a 15-minute parking spot could hurt them a little bit. So I want to be respectful of them. You know, like maybe a 15-minute spot somewhere, like maybe in front of their building, like that last spot, you know, is be better if it's a 15-minute or a second handicap spot. I don't know the best answer. Like I said, I don't want to hurt anybody's business. I know everybody that goes to Starbucks is in and out pretty fast. I know most people just get Subway in and out. Some people will stay for lunch. You know, so I don't know the best way to do that. You know, I just want to make sure that if somebody's, you know, we have a lot of elderly people that come across that street or want to drive over, and it's really hard for them to get in and out of that parking lot. So making that road more accessible to them is my biggest concern. And a little deli place had a lot of older people over 50 or over 60 that would go there for breakfast. So, I mean, I don't want to put in a spot that would hurt them at all. But I mean, I just want to be respectful of the aging population that we have in Webster Groves. Because I mean, if you're gonna make it more accessible and more walkable to businesses, then you kind of have to accommodate those, you know, the people over 65. That's a lot of people that is coming into my business. A lot of people going to the chiropractor, a lot of places, people going to that breakfast place other than Starbucks. So I don't know the best recommendation. But, you know, I definitely don't want to hurt, you know, anybody's business or, like, you know, stuff like that. I just want to make sure that the people that are handicapped or, you know, they're a little bit challenged with mobility, that they have accessibility to the businesses there. So I'd take whatever the officer's recommendations are and go with those.
This is Angel. What if that, just a suggestion that I think there should be a second handicap I mean, considering after Steve going in there and the type of businesses that he has, I think it's important, and maybe would suggest a second handicap. And then what about a suggestion of maybe 15-minute parking? So looking at those last 3 white cars, maybe that middle one, just due to the curbside nature of things, which is probably, even when COVID is gone, not really going to go away, since we're all kind of changing business styles and made it work, that a 15-minute run in to get something just deters someone. And then that 15-minute could potentially be the curbside, or allowing for a curbside. And obviously my dogs agree. So, but I don't know. I guess that would be something for the city to determine based on the traffic. If that in the business, we have 1 handicap or 2 handicap spots for our building alone. So I don't know if the traffic, whatever the recommendation would be based on the volume of cars, if there's the formula with that, do we not meet it? So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
So.
And then
Let's
one other comment real quick though is the other thing that we've kind of come across as kind of been a hindrance about being in that location for us is that, like, I have the staff and capabilities of providing COVID testing. I can't do it without a parking spot either. So, I mean, I know that's kind of above and beyond this conversation, but if you're going to look at that now and changing stuff, maybe consider putting a temporary spot or a tag on a spot there where we do have the ability to offer, COVID testing in cars, just like Walgreens or CVS. Because I mean, there's just no way for me to offer that in the store. And most of those places are doing it through their drive-throughs. There's nowhere really for me to put a drive-through in. The best thing I can do is like curbside to go.
Steve, with some of the restaurants I know in like Webster, is there a temporary situation? People put the cone up and say, I don't know if you need to get permission from the city to do that until a certain time or until COVID, that we actually want to allow for that to happen now. So we don't have to maybe not have a 15-minute parking, but have a request to be able to do that in the current times.
I think so. Because I mean, I don't think COVID's going away. I mean, I think everybody's gonna get their free home COVID testing kit. There's gonna be people that want to get rapid results like right away for different situations, whether they're kids at school or high schoolers or people traveling and stuff like that. We just don't have any ability to offer COVID testing,
Right.
Which kind of stinks because we have all the tests. I can't offer them in the pharmacy, but we have everybody trained. I have staff that are trained to give them, including technicians now, but I can't offer COVID testing at our current location.
So let me, a little context. We have relaxed enforcement since the beginning of COVID in terms of, curbside pickup and the cones and things like that. You've especially seen that in Old Webster in a lot of ways, and in some places out in front in Old Orchard. Old Webster, in fact, is quite reverting back the other way because we're starting to see folks, as Officer Razul could talk about, take advantage of that a little bit, and some cones going out to hold parking spots for other purposes, namely, business owner or employee wants to park close. So the city's actually looking at, sort of announcing enforcement coming back in terms of those restrictions and relaxations. From a COVID perspective, I'm by no means an expert, but I think we're probably going to be COVID testing for some time, right? I don't know that, COVID is probably going to be, my sense reading things are like the flu. And I don't think there's anything out of the bounds for us to be able to do what you're talking about, Angel and others. These 3 spots could be reconfigured with handicap and then a drop off or a curbside zone. There is handicap here in the lot for those that do park in the lot and are heading in the building. So our handicap metric is met for the building and the space. There really isn't a traffic study needed from the police department or public works in terms of the parking capacity. So it's really a question, from the city's perspective, if the business district wants to see some enhancement of the parking apparatus there to help not only Steve, but also this just general area and the conduct of what needs to be done, we can do that. We always look to the business districts in these cases for, is this sort of in the sense of what you want to do? What is the sense of what you want to do? And then the council usually acts on it. again, if we wanted to add another handicap spot, we could. There's a piece of me that almost says it's easy to put 2 handicap spots in a 15-minute, the curbside drop in, drop off right there on the end. But Officer Razul, I always welcome your comments as well. I'm not a parking expert and you know these things better than I, but we could easily do that. We can figure it out. So I really want to put it out there and make sure that we had the conversation and see if there was a direction you all wanted to go.
This is Abby. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
So this is a suggestion. I don't know if it's possible, but maybe putting the 2 handicap parking spots, but then making that strip right there a 15-minute parking. Like, I don't see why anyone that's going to be there longer couldn't just park in the parking lot, and then anyone that's coming and going really quick is just that whole strip's a 15-minute parking. Other than the handicap spots or whatnot. Is that possible, or is that?
It's completely possible. We can, the parking regs there the council can do as they wish with them. So
I think,
Okay.
I'm just speaking for Steve, but maybe Steve, if you talk to the chiropractor and the other guys and say, hey, what about this? And just kind of run it by them and just maybe get a little, between the 4 or 5 that are right there, say this would be best for all of us, Or what do you think about that, Steve?
No, I think that's a good idea. I mean, I know I've talked to their office a couple times, especially the chiropractor's office. They've kind of, talked about the handicap space and just. So let me get their feedback for next month, and just see what they'd want to. And then I don't see why that's not a big issue at all for me to do.
Okay, let's do
Yeah, I
that.
like that idea.
Rick, I
Okay.
don't mean to put you on the spot, but Webster, as the building owner, is there any connection that needs to be done there and discussion about that? Any interest from the ownership?
Yeah, I was just looking at this lot, Eric, and if you go to our lot where that white truck is parked, all the way to the right,
This one?
yeah, right in that area, if we were to move, on a temporary basis, convert a couple of those spaces into like a COVID testing parking space, would that be of any value to Steve?
Sorry. Which spot is it?
He's talking about a couple of the spots right along Lockwood Avenue. So
Right, I believe right in front of Starbucks is, I think those 2 are handicap, if memory serves.
these two are
Oh, in the
actually
lot?
there.
Right, in the lot itself. But
These are
as we move further down along that line of vehicles, if we put at least one spot and dedicate that spot to COVID testing, would that be of any value to you?
I would take whatever I could get. I'm not picky. Like, I mean, it'd be nice to have it right in front of my pharmacy, but if that's not doable, I take the next best option in that parking lot. One spot would be great. I mean, I think if you started offering, you're gonna need more than one space, though. So, I mean, we could do it by appointment only. I know we're scheduling all of our shots on using Calendly and stuff like that, but we have access to vaccine.org. I mean, it would bring a lot of traffic into that area because, I mean, people are going on to, we're registered on like vaccine.org where people are finding the pharmacy from all over St. Louis for COVID shots. It would be the same thing for COVID testing. So it's not a bad thing for anybody.
So seems clearly that the street parking would be the most beneficial as far as traffic flows go. And then as a backup, the parking lot as a plan B. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Let me check with my staff and figure out how we would conduct the test if we could do it, and then tell you like what our ideal spot would be.
Sure.
I can do that too for next month. That way, like I can tell you exactly what we need because I know some of these pharmacies are doing, 10, 11, 12 tests a day. So, I mean, you're talking a lot of, so we've, like now as I come into this parking lot too, like right now, so I'm driving to work, but towards the other end of the parking lot past like the Webster University, there's nothing there. Like,
Right.
it's completely empty. So I don't know, then maybe there is some potential to do some COVID testing here in the parking lot or one way or the other. So yeah, I'm up for that.
All right. And we'll have you touch base. next month after you speak with some of the other parties.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, where's that? Is Prop U on this? Is that next?
It is, and I think did we discuss briefly last time Prop U? I did bring it up and I see it in the minutes. I just wanted to give an update that the city's educational campaign will be launching and the materials will be available soon. We've had a good couple conversations with folks, and that will include, and we'll make sure all the business districts have this for those businesses that wish, any materials to explain Prop U. There are some of you on this group that do compete against online sellers. And so this is, again, from our intention at the city, as we look at it, not only is it a revenue stream for the city, but also it is, leveling the playing field for those businesses that do have competition with online sellers. So we will have that all out soon. Wanted to make sure you're aware of that. We are starting to get more and more questions, which is good. It's picking up. And I'll just also add that Prop U is part of a coordinated statewide campaign across the municipalities that don't have the use tax. So there are well over, I believe, over 40 municipalities in St. Louis County that are all going to have a Prop U on the ballot in April. So this is, you'll see Prop U talked about in a much more regional sense. It's not just a Webster Groves thing, but the Webster Groves Prop U is only for Webster Groves. And the county is also having their version of Prop U on for the county's potential use tax. So there'll be a county Prop U and then a city of Webster Groves Prop U.
Okay. How about a BDC business survey?
Yes. So the BDC business survey is going to go out this week. We're just waiting on one finalization on our letter to come from the mayor to send it all to you. And so that survey will be out. It is, as Fran can attest, an exhaustive survey of well over, actually, by the time we add all the things, it's almost 60 questions. It is not meant to take all the time in the world. It is, if you don't, some of these questions are really deep into your marketing demographic and your things like that. You do not have to answer all the questions when you see it. If you don't understand why we're asking, we'll explain that. But the points of the survey, and it is drawn off of Main Street program surveys from across the country, is to really drill down on what are the needs and assessment and the real business community needs. Not just, Steve had a great conversation here we just had about parking and this need here, but is there a marketing need? Is there a business education need? Is there a capital finance program need of some type? And really give some guidance to the council and to all of us and staff, on what are the policies and the actions that we can take as a city to support the business community, because we obviously do understand that our community thrives when the business community thrives. So that is the goal of the survey. Again, you're going to see that this week. You'll get it right from the city email. It's on SurveyMonkey. You can go backwards, forwards, skip questions, take your time with it, or, go to the end and say, I don't want to fill this out. Send it in. So and it will be completely anonymous. If you don't want to put your name and your business information in, you don't have to. You can send it in with whatever level of response you wish to do. So that'll be going out to about 5,000 different organizations, those that are doing business in Webster Groves and those that are located in Webster Groves.
Great. You want to just go right into BDC update, Eric?
You just heard it. Other than the ARP Balancing Act is up about federal funds. So if you've all done that, I really hope so. I think we gave the link out at our last meeting, but we do want to hear from folks. We've had a great response this morning. I've had over 90 folks that have filled that out, which is really good for Webster Groves in terms of a budget engagement tool. We're really happy with that, but we want more. And there is a load of business options in there. So for, programs, that we have heard, like at the roundtable, about potential micro grants, transit programs, parking issues, those are all in that. And so we encourage you all to fill out the ARP Balancing Act. And again, that is all anonymous. We did ask for an email. So if you want to get the results, if you don't want to get the results, you can enter a junk email and you don't have to worry about it. It's not gonna, we won't know who you are. So.
All right. Okay, then city update. Got anything further, Eric, on the
I don't have anything further, and Mara didn't have a list of new businesses, but I do know that the tree ordinance will be coming at some point in terms of from the Plan Commission and such. So as soon as we see a recommendation to council, we'll share that with all the commissions. I don't expect it to have much of an impact on how things are operating in the Old Orchard area, but that is a big conversation for the city. We also are, as you know, are in the budget process, and so March 1, we will have budget requests due, and then we'll be working on the budget in the manager's office and delivering that in mid-April to the new council, mid-April to May, the newly elected council, and keeping the current council updated along the way. There's one more thing. Oh, tomorrow we have city chats on at 11 o'clock tomorrow. That's our Facebook Live event. If anyone's interested, it'll be myself, Dr. Peoples, the city manager, and Councilmember Smith is going to join us. So it's literally, we take questions from folks on Facebook Live. We'll talk about topics that are happening at the city, take any questions people have and answer them live on the air per se. And so I'll turn it to Councilmember Smith, Chairman, if he has any updates he wants to give.
No, Eric, I don't have any updates.
Okay. All right, then I guess next meeting will be set for March 8th.
Correct.
All right. And then just motion to adjourn.
Second that.
Eric,
Yes, sir.
are you in control of the Zoom or is it
I am.
Fran? Oh, can you stay on maybe about 10 minutes?
Yep, will do.
Okay, thank you.
Bob, we just need a vote real quick and then we can be done.
Yeah, motion to adjourn, right?
Yep, I think you got it from Holland and Steve, I heard, so. You just want to take a vote?
Yeah. Vote on motion.
You said no straw.
What was
Don't
that?
hear any objection, so I think we're adjourned.
Yeah.
How's that sound?
Okay.
All right.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Bob.
See you, everybody. Thank you.